الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. I am honored and glad to introduce to you our brother Douglas Williams. He is a special education teacher at Niles North High School. He taught many years in Niles West, and recently he transferred to Niles North in Skokie. Of course, as a special education teacher, he knows our son, Mudar Ismail Azhari, because now he is attending also Niles North. The brother, mashallah, has done a bit of traveling, and he has been to some African countries, and I think you are going to enjoy his khatira tonight. Welcome, brother Douglas.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. I will do the best I can to honor you all, to honor this space, and to honor Brother Al-Khair, who's been such a wonderful brother to me. I remember when I was a baby Muslim, he used to teach me Arabic at the Iqra Center. So I'm very grateful that we still have a connection, and that I'm still connected to the Sudanese community. So this will be a brief dars. First of all, thank you so much. I always love to hear the recitation of Quran through the Sudanese Ummah. It's always very beautiful to hear. And it's also very beautiful to be among you. So thank you so much. So in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, this talk will be in the language of your children. And it is in the language of your children, English, for a very good reason. I teach at the high school. I've been with District 219 for quite a while. I started in 2001. I was at off campus. It's now called Niles Central, and I am now at Niles North. I was at Central, I was at West, and now I'm at Niles North. And my time there, I sponsored the Muslim Club, and it was arguably the biggest club at the in the district. It was called Quran Study. So I was the sponsor for 6 years, and then I briefly interacted with the club at Niles North. And we have Muslims from all over the Ummah. We have young Muslims from India, Pakistan, Bosnia, Sudan, Mongolia, and all the children have something in common, which is they are all earnestly struggling with how to make sense of this faith in high school here in this country. So I would like to start by briefly doing a comparison contrast with the life of Ibrahim, may Allah be pleased with him, and the struggles he faced when he was young. So when the Prophet Ibrahim, may God be pleased with him, when he was young, he went to his father who was making idols. And he asked him, why are you making these idols? What are these idols for? And Ibrahim's father shared with him that these idols are, this is our religion, we worship these idols. So then Ibrahim, this didn't make sense to him because these idols were just inanimate objects. They couldn't do anything. My dear brothers and my sister, my daughter, many times our children ask us about Islam, and we have a similar response. which is not a very deep one. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm here to be honest with you. I became a Muslim to save my life. I didn't become a Muslim to join a tribe. I didn't become a Muslim to be a part of a clique or a group. I didn't have any identity issues. My issue was I was living a life of suicide. I was going to die fast. So I wanted to grab onto the rope of Allah and save my life. I wanted him to pull me out of hell. So with that being said, whenever I'm asked to speak, especially about Islam, I'm always honest, because we're dealing with salvation. We're dealing with life and death. So we can't play around when it comes to talking about our salvation. So with that being said, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Now, when a lot of our children come to us and ask us questions about Islam, we give them superficial answers. And we speak out of tradition and not out of honesty. Brothers and sisters, young people know when they're not getting the full story. Young people know when they're not getting the truth. And when young people don't get what they need, not what they want, but what they need, which is salvation, which is a connection with Allah, a connection with Allah and His Word, a connection with the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. They're going to look for it somewhere else. With that being said, when Prophet Ibrahim, may God be pleased with him, when he didn't get the answers he wanted, he then began searching. So it says he studied the movement of the moon. And when he saw that the moon went away, he realized that that was not Allah. He studied the sun, the movement of the sun. And when he saw the sun go away, he knew that wasn't Allah. Brothers and sisters, our youth are studying things in this society. They're studying secular humanism. They're studying rampant individualism. They have a love affair with their electronic devices, their phones. Their phones get more attention than anything else. They're studying pop culture. Those things in themselves aren't bad. However, they're not going to lead you to everlasting life. They're not going to lead you to Allah. They're not going to lead you to salvation. So, when we look at the youth, and we look at the life of the Prophet Ibrahim, may God be pleased with him, and we see how his search led him to Allah, I ask you, the youth, what is their search leading them to? Once the Prophet Ibrahim found Allah, I would argue that when he went into that chamber that was filled with idols, and he had some people said he had an axe, but I know he had an instrument, and he smashed all the idols except the biggest one. My brothers and sisters, our youth are smashing idols. They're smashing their relationships with the masjid. They're smashing their relationship with Islamic organizations, such as MSA, such as Young Muslims, because they're not getting what they need. And I will argue, and I will say to you, they're smashing their relationships with their families, because they're not getting what they need from their families. They're getting the same answer Ibrahim got, which was, this is what our ancestors did, so this is what we're doing. Our children need more than that. They need honest answers. They need to be connected with the Book of Allah. They need to be connected with the Sunnah of the Prophet. And they need to be connected with a reality, an Islamic reality, that is relevant that their experience here in this country. You know, it's very sad, but it's honest. They don't have a connection with the Quran or with the Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. To many of them, the Quran is just a book that sits on the shelf. To many of them, hearing the Quran is no different than hearing something on the radio. It doesn't move them. The stories of the Prophet isn't real to a lot of our youth. The Prophet is not more important than the sports stars. The Prophet is not more important than the entertainers that we see on television. Our children are imitating them. They're following their sunnah. They're not following the sunnah of the Prophet. And that's not their fault. We have to ask why. And I would say the reason is because if my daughter doesn't see the Prophet in me, then she's not going to follow it. If I'm giving her superficial answers, if I'm not answering her questions, then she's going to look for answers somewhere else. And that's what our children are doing. So, when we look at Ibrahim, may God be pleased with him, smashing the idols, and then when the people come in the room and they say, who did this? How did this happen? And then Ibrahim points to the big idol and says, he did it. And then they respond with anger because he's right. They know the idol couldn't do it. So their ego was so sick that instead of being humbled by the truth, by the haqq, by the truth of Ibrahim, what do? They try to kill him. So many times, brothers and sisters, when our children see the truth and they bring it to us, we get angry with them and we become punitive. We want to punish them. This is not the right way. I have learned so much from my daughter, and she has taught me so much. What she's taught me is that our faith has to be relevant to this generation. The fact of the matter is, nobody's going back. I mean, they may go back to Khartoum just to visit, but if you honestly ask them, if you went up to these two young men and said, Habibi, we're moving back to Khartoum. Look at his face. So I'm just being honest with you. This is their home. This is their culture. This is their language. I'm not saying they don't love Sudan. I'm not saying they don't like their visits to Khartoum, seeing the beautiful Nile River and seeing the beautiful desert of Khartoum. However, home is here. With that being said, a reality has to be created here, an Islamic reality that's relevant to them here. And that is our job to do. When we look later on in Ibrahim's life, and we look at the relationship he had with his son, the most powerful story is when Ibrahim went to his son and said, Allah has told me that I have to sacrifice you. I have to take your life. His relationship with Ishmael was so strong. Ishmael said to him, well, first, Ibrahim said to him, well, what do you think about this? This means they had a relationship, not just a father-son relationship, but a relationship that transformed and transcended the finite world, the physical world. They had a relationship in the spiritual sense. So they had an infinite relationship, a relationship beyond this earthly realm. So when he said, what do you think about this? His own son told him, when his father came to him and said, look, I'm going to have to kill you. I mean, Allah ordered it. His own son said to him, do as God has commanded you. And inshallah, God willing, you will find me among the patient. This is the kind of relationship and reality in that, just within that communication, this is the kind of relationship and reality we need with our children. This is what we need. Because Ishmael did not regurgitate back to Ibrahim the same old stale generational religion that was given to him. Ishmael told Ibrahim, he responded to Ibrahim's faith with his own faith, a faith that Ishmael earned himself, not something that was given to him. That is the beauty of this story. And that is the lesson to us now. If we want our children to be upstanding, ethical, moral human beings, that not just, you know, it's unfortunate that we have placed ourselves in a position to either we're for just us or we're for justice. And what I mean by just us, well, you know, we're doing fine, we're okay, but I don't care about the people outside these doors. You know, brothers and sisters, Islam is for everyone. It's not just for you. Islam's not a unique club for just certain ethnic groups. Islam's for everybody. Islam is for the African American. Islam is for people who are struggling. White, black, female, everyone out there deserves to know Allah and deserves a place right here on this carpet. Everyone deserves a chance to save their lives. We have to get out of this, this sort of narcissistic, you know, sort of tribal, cliquish, you know, Islam that we're practicing now. Because the bottom line is, if you don't care about the world, don't expect the world to care about you. It's hypocritical. I mean, with Trump's ban and Muslim ban and everything, and then, you know, Muslims are out in the street marching, but then Muslims don't show up when other people are in trouble. So that's just a side note. But back to the youth. We have to cultivate a kind of relationship where our children feel proud that their Islam shows through their behavior. I mean, it's nice that, you know, our children, they wear, you know, galabiyas and, you know, they wear their ethnic dress, quote unquote Islamic dress. But what's even more beautiful is when you see the character that shines through. When you see the beautiful character of your children. You know, I was telling my daughter on the way over in the car that when I go to her parent-teacher conference, it makes me feel so good when I say her name and the teachers smile, the principals smile. And one thing that made me feel real proud was, I remember once the secretary at the desk was like, yeah, your daughter, she comes here all the time, she uses that room to pray. So that to me, that's her religion. I'm not at school with her, I don't know what she's doing. But I know that she is doing what she's supposed to do. And she's doing it for herself. As it says in the Quran, you know, you will earn what you earn, and they will earn what they earn. You know, I can't get her into Jannah. She has to do that herself. So we need to provide our children with a space where they can earn this faith themselves, where they can't rely on mama's faith. They can't rely on daddy's faith. They have to rely on their own faith. You know, a high school, in the hallways, children are facing and dealing with things I never thought of dealing with. Just the technology. I didn't have this technology when I was in school. Cell phones and MP3 players and all these distractions. Snapchat, and you know, I don't even know what half these things are. But we have to create a space for our children to learn this faith and to own it for themselves. You know, the final thing I'll talk about, then I'll end my talk, inshallah. You know, the story of Prophet Nuh, We know him as Noah in English. You know, the day when the flood came. And he called out to his son and told him, come join me on the boat, come join me in the ark. And his son responded, don't worry about me, Father, I'll be safe on this mountain. And then his father told him, don't you know this is the day when no one will be safe unless they're on this boat? And then the flood overtook his son. And then Noah complained to his father, his heavenly father. He complained to Allah and said, you know, why didn't you save my son? Why didn't you help me and my son? And Allah reprimanded him and told him that those who are on the boat with you, that's your family. He was not one of you. He was not one of your family. So that tells me that if we continue this way, practicing Islam in a way that only benefits us, that creates sort of like a high, you know, takes us back to the good old days when we were back in, you know, Khartoum, or back in Ramallah, or back in Hyderabad. The good old days back when we were living in, you know, Karachi, Dakar, and then your kids are born here. They don't speak Wolof. They don't speak Urdu. They don't speak Arabic. They don't speak Hindi. They don't like cricket. They don't like soccer. They like basketball. They like football. They watch MMA. The music they listen to is different. They don't listen to the beautiful Sudanese singer Farfour, Mohammed Farfour. Jamal Farfour. They don't listen to him. They don't listen to Hamza al-Din. They listen to Kendrick Lamar, and they listen to some of these other fools that are on TV singing. You know, I call them fools because I don't like the music. But the bottom line is they speak a different cultural language, and that's okay. But the common language should be your ethics and your morals. Upstanding children who don't lie, who don't cheat. You're not getting phone calls from school all the time because your kid's in the office acting up. You don't know how embarrassing and how shameful it is for me to walk past the dean's office, and I know they're Muslim, and they're sitting up in the dean's office. And the dean's calling the parents. He's in the office again. He was acting out. And then you come in the school. And there he is, sitting in the office. And you worked so hard to get here and provide them with an opportunity that you yourself probably didn't have. The district that I work at is probably the best district as far as technology is concerned. We're number 4 in the state as far as high schools are concerned. So our children not only should take advantage of the education that is in that building, but they also have an opportunity of dawah. They have an opportunity to be a light in a dark place. So I say to you, please, let's propagate an Islam that is relevant to our children. And let's not bore our children with, and I mean no disrespect, but like I said, I'm being honest. Let's not bore our children with things we like. I mean, you know, there are things that I enjoy, but we have to make this faith relevant for them. They have to be able to use this here. It would make no sense me gifting a horse to my daughter. She can't use it. We have paved roads here and cars. The horse would be irrelevant, obsolete, useless. I need to gift her something that she can use here. And we also need to be thinking generations ahead. You know, it's not enough to think about today. We need to be thinking of sustainability. We need to be thinking about this space and how it's going to be used and how it's going to be relevant for generations to come. You know, it's amazing to see how, I remember when Brother O'Hare told me about this space. And it's beautiful how it's grown, and to see the brothers and sisters that are here today. So I thank you again for having me here. I pray that my talk has been some benefit. And thank you for being so kind to both me and my daughter, making us feel welcome. There are some spaces in this city where you don't feel welcome. And this is unfortunate, because just to get to that door for some people, it's like lifting 1,000 pounds. Just to get to that door.
Yes.
So this is what we need to remember. We are in an environment where we have to see ourselves as an emergency room. There are people who are suffering, and they struggle to get to that door. And when they get to that door, for some of them, it's life or death. And I'll just say this real quick, and then I promise you, inshallah, I'll wrap up. You know, hurt people hurt people. And you can go on YouTube right now, and you can see so many videos of ex-Muslims bashing Islam. And they're making money. They're making a career out of this. These people came out of nowhere. There are tons of YouTube videos of people saying, I used to be Muslim, and now I'm not anymore. And I'm so happy. And this is why. You know, there's a Chinese saying, never scorn a baby cub, because it'll grow up and become a ferocious tiger. We have a lot of ferocious tigers in our community, and they're ferocious because of what we did. So many people, so many stories of people coming to the mosque, seeking help, seeking aid, seeking guidance, and they're rejected, they're judged, they're beaten verbally, they're cast out, and they take that pain and that suffering and that hurt, and then they bring it back to the community, but in a different way. They're on Fox News. They're on all these news outlets, or they're on YouTube. And there's an audience ready and waiting to buy into the narrative that Islam is a horrible cancer in this country. Not just in this country, but in the world. And it has to be gotten rid of. We have to change that. And we have to invest in our youth so that they can be, you know, we have to start being like Allah has placed in His creation, in plants. And you were talking about plants earlier. Plants and animals, that they replicate in a way that the generation to follow is stronger and faster than the generation that was before. We've lost that. As adults, we want to stay on top, and we don't want the kids to come up and relieve us. No, I'm going to be the president of the mosque for 1,000 years. We have this dictatorial mindset. You know, some of us become like dictators. You know, you want to rule the mosque. And we don't want the youth to come up and replace us. The Rashidun, the 4 righteous caliphs, were called righteous for a reason. Abu Bakr didn't stay caliph forever. He served his time and then he stepped down. And then after him it was Omar. Then Omar served his time, he stepped down. Then it was Ali. Or Uthman, I'm sorry. Then Ali. But we don't do that. You go to the mosque and it's the same guy who's been president for like 18, 20 years.
All the mosques are in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's
They're
that,
coming from the guy who's
exactly.
been 29 years. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, like he's still there. And then what do we do? Our best and brightest, what? They leave and they become something else. They become something else. So, inshallah, please, we have to give our kids the Quran. And they have to have their own relationship with the Quran. And they have to read it. And they have to, you know, understand that this is Allah talking to them now. And we also have to give them the Sunnah of the Prophet. He has to be our model, our role model. And not just growing a beard and dressing and dressing in the clothes that he wore. Because the fact of the matter is, the people who were trying to kill him looked just like him. They were wearing the same clothes and they had beards too. So that's not going to make you holy. That's not going to make you ethical and moral. No, his behavior, that's what we need to be, imitating. So I pray and ask for forgiveness if I offended anyone, and if you benefit from what I've said, know that it came from God and not from me. And I thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
We have benefited tremendously, and I just want to say one thing, yeah, really, I don't want to praise you in front of the brothers, but you are very practical. You are implementing what you say, what you preach. I can look at your daughter, and mashallah, yani, I can see the example. Yani.
Thank you.
She loves her dad so much that she waited all this time to listen to his message. I can look at her appearance, how she is dressed, mashallah, in hijab, and how she is so keen and careful to observe her prayers,
Yes.
even in a busy, time, like when she is attending, full-time school.
Yeah. Well, that's her mom too. Her mother,
That really
Yeah.
makes me so proud, and I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for people like you. What's her name? If we
Iman.
Iman. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Faith. Yeah, this is a very beautiful name. Thanks again, brother.
All right,
Jazakallah.
you.
You are welcome anytime.
We'll be asking you for a question and answering session one time, because maybe tonight time is not that, but if you
Another time.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
be
sure.
preparing, we can put the family to join us, in lecture instead of,
He's a teacher, so he is used to answering questions.
They're prepared and
He got a question right here.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's not a question, but I always think about what he just said about us, the people that came from outside. The time I spent in this country is too long or too much. I don't think we're going to change this country, but the people in this country, and the people they born in this society, even our kids or like you, your daughter, this is the one they're going to change this country, because we still has our culture. Our culture is not working here. It's not going to work here.
Well, I mean, your culture is fine, but just remember, Allah and His Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, supersedes your culture. I have my own culture, but all my actions should be informed by Allah's word and the sunnah of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as long as I use that as my compass and my guide, I'll be okay. But if
The other way I want to say this is, yes, we born Muslims. Our understand to Islam is mixed with our culture. You are not. So you understand Islam in many times better than us.
well,
that's maybe we are slave to our
inshallah.
which is not.
But I mean, his point is valid, but unless the translators are careful to keep out tradition when they are translating, you will end up, with the same background that we have. So the translators have to be smart and wise, not to translate everything, only what relates to the Quran and the Sunnah.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
No problem.
شكرا يا حبيبي. Good job.